On this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about the real estate headlines.
Welcome to Real Estate on the Rocks, where you get top shelf real estate conversations served straight up, never watered down. Here's your host, Dave Snowberger.
That's right. We're back. I'm Dave Snowberger, joined in the studio with Marshall Tucker.
That's right. That's me.
And the new guy,
What's going on?
James Mendez, in the studio. Here we go. We're doing a little fun thing lately. Every once in a while, we just break out the headlines that we're seeing on some of the news sources out there. Obviously, Inman. We've got Real Trends and a couple other local news sources that are always chatting it up on real estate. So our business is funny. You know, I mean, we see the headlines and then they become they kind of start working their way through the Facebook groups out there, the big ones, the small ones that we're a part of. And it's fun to see everybody's take on it typically, right?
Yeah.
Somebody posts something like, you know, what do you think that Redfin's now displaying their commissions? And,
I don't care.
Or their buyers' commissions. I certainly don't give a hoot, but
Nope. Yeah.
you know, there's other people out there like the sky's falling, right? So all
Yeah.
that's going to do. So we started diving into it a little bit more, and that's how we trip across that headline. Obviously, there's a few more out there, but let's go ahead and talk about this. You know, Redfin. Redfin is now displaying their buyers' agents' commissions on their listings. What does that mean for the business?
Nothing. I mean, I get the premise
elaborate.
for it.
They say they're trying to stimulate conversation between their clients, the listing clients, and them. So.
I don't know
Right.
if I don't know if that's going to get the goal that they're saying that they're doing it for. They're
Right.
saying it's only for transparency and that so the buyer understands how people get paid, which should be the conversation if you're helping as a buyer's agent anyway. So is it really that, or are they really just trying to use that as leverage to use them or minimize what's being paid to the buyer's agent?
Yeah, because even if you got 25% of the buyers out there that would see their agent's commission and disagree that, you know, as a buyer, as you representing me as a buyer, you should not be making 3%. You know, a $500,000 sale, you should not be making $15,000. That's just not fair. I don't see that fair. We looked at two homes and you're going to make 15 grand. Like, that's not fair. You know, and I could see, so if they did that, you know, to 25% of their buyers coming in and they limit the commission, like, you know, I think you should only get 1%, you know, and you're lucky at getting that, right? Yeah. So you should get $5,000 for helping me because you showed me two homes and that's it. You know, where does that other 10,000 go, right? And so it's already more than likely determined with Redfin, if it was listed 3%, that Redfin has a 3%, or excuse me, because they do it for 4%, right? Yeah. So they have a 4% listing. Now, who gets to keep the $10,000? Does it keep in the seller's pocket? Does Redfin keep it because they've already have a signed contract? So those are the things I'd like to see. So how I usually look at this is any headline that I read that has involved with any of the big brokerages or Redfin, any of the big like iBuyer companies or the big Zillows and all that stuff. Any big headline I see that's shocking to the real estate industry, I typically believe that it's planned. They have PR companies, they pump it out there, they write it in a manner to scare the shit out of the agent, and then the agent takes it hook, line, and sinker every time, and then takes their uneducated opinions to Facebook. Yeah. You know, and it starts more conversation, which is more of a driving force for Redfin and all these companies that put out here and seem to think that our business is experimental, you know, and they can just come into the space. And it clearly states that we're not waiting. Now, they beat the MLS to the punch because the Northwestern MLS is going to do this. And so wherever that's located, I'm sure that's up in Seattle, where Redfin's from, you know, they beat them to the punch by a month. Yeah. And so Redfin started displaying the commissions. Now that MLS is going to start displaying the commissions as well. And I didn't see the reasoning behind the MLS doing that, which I can think is a complete backstab to
what I saw was that
paying members.
Redfin is listing their commissions on their site, but non-Redfin listings won't have it. So maybe they're trying to do it so that they also appear on Redfin's.
Right. So these are mostly Redfin's listings. So that's what I wanted to understand more about. And so if anybody can enlighten us on that, I would love to see. And I'll continue to read about it. But I just want to know what they're going to do with that extra commission, you know, that they've got laying around. And so that was always created that it was to save the seller money, and at scale, they could list more homes and save more consumers money. However, Redfin has lost money year after year after year, that they've never actually turned a profit. Never. No quarter have they ever promoted a profit or posted a profit. And then they just continue to lose money. And I know they've got ungodly amounts of money, right? And the main goal is to not always lose money. But that company's been bankrupt almost 2 or 3 times, where they've gotten a Hail Mary from a venture capitalist that's kept them alive, And so
For how long?
Right, and it's going to continue to happen. And so what happens, I just like to see what all this stuff happens, and only time will tell. We can sit here and talk about it, speculate, but only time will tell down the road of how this social experiment inside the real estate business is going to work. You can't replace us. You can't replace the human element of this. They're trying to replicate it. They're trying to duplicate it. They're trying to do something, but that's where they're losing at this, is that they are being successful in taking some business away. But however, Redfin has agents. Yeah. What is the Redfin agent that's working with the buyer? I mean, are they salaried? Like, I don't know much. I don't know much about the Redfin agent, so I can't speak to him. However, I think this is the sky's falling syndrome. Usually goes to what I always speak about as the 80+% of the people that are not willing to do their jobs and get out there and meet people, get people to know, like, and trust them, and do business with people, and have that human-to-human interaction and solve people's problems. Those are the folks that the sky's falling. It's like, you're telling me now, even I've got an even bigger problem now. I can't even lead generate, and when I do get a lead, now my commission's going to be there, so now they're going to take my commission from me. So I have a warped way.
Don't tell them how much I'm getting.
Right. And so that should be disclosed in the first place. I mean, obviously, when
I always feel that way at like a new construction, and the lady's writing it out, and it's coming across the screen. This is your realtor, and oh, look, he's making 5%. He's like, oh, don't show that.
I like to close the title companies that skip right over it.
Just glaze right onto that.
That's your.
What was that? Nothing.
That's your realtor's commission, and blah blah blah. They just go right over it. I'm like, oh, thank you, I appreciate that. Didn't get awkward. Yeah. No, but we've had that plenty of times. We've been at the closing table. At least I have, and just kind of like, you're making $37,000 off this, and I was like, yeah. I'm
gonna take care of you the whole way.
Well, no, I mean, we're at the closing table now, right? So it's like, I sold it. It was $1 million property that was on the market for 2 years before you called me. Remember that?
My clients caught it at the earnest money. It's like, wait a minute, what? 5%.
So, dang, hey, when that happens.
Yeah, I don't.
I just keep a poker face and just glaze through it myself. Don't flinch.
You're like, what are you talking about? I didn't make that much money. My wife takes that immediately out of my hands.
You see half of that.
Yeah. I mean, I know I get to keep my house and my cars going, but I don't see any of that money. All right. So Redfin displaying the commission.
More hype than what it's worth.
Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and pass over that one. We gave our little opinion real quick. If you know something different about how Redfin operates, let us know. But I'm going to stick with the majority on this, and that irrelevant.
Agreed.
All right, let's get to it. Marshall had a funny story about open door listings. That wasn't, I guess maybe it could have been funny. The headline was funny, but then when you read it, it was more sad.
Yeah, it's kind of
right. So enlighten us with the open door listing had.
So apparently, they found I guess I'm not sure who discovered it, but when they went in there was a wet baby running around. There was a mom upstairs giving a baby a bath, and I guess the dad was downstairs somewhere. But from what I read, it was too noisy at a women's shelter down the street, so they seeked refuge there and was taking baths and all that. But he got arrested. They all got arrested for trespassing. But apparently there was some paraphernalia there as well. So
they arrested the babies?
No, the babies got taken.
Oh, snap.
And that's why I said it was a sad story, because the kids got taken away and, they got arrested. So
they just use their app, they just use their phone to open Red Door, like show me anytime.
Set up camp in the living room.
Which they've addressed, from what I understand, because I thought that was kind of goofy at first. But they've addressed the whole thing in their listing, that I don't think they're responsible.
No, probably not.
Yeah, that Open Door's not responsible for anybody that kind of lies and just goes into somebody's house. How is that possible?
All the ones I see, they got a bunch of cameras. So, I mean, they would know, unless you only have 1 hour that you're allowed to be there.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess they can check
the door automatically locks. They put a little locking thing on it, but I mean, there's several people
get out of it.
Yeah, I mean, you can unlock it if you're on the inside.
You can leave a window open too, and then come back around.
And depending on what state, I mean, and how long you're in there, you can lay claim to the property. You can get away with it
hour.
for a while.
It's 30 years, isn't it?
Well, I mean, you have to make sure that no one's checking
After
to
a
see if you
30-year
leave.
mortgage, you can, James.
No, no one's kicking you out. Like the one we went into didn't have any cameras.
No, I think it's something like 7 days or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or yeah, it's pretty scary. That's one thing we do with leases. I mean,
Yeah.
all the time people are like, well, this here says that I can't have my friends stay here for more than 7 days. It's like, yeah, after 7 days they legally live here. So do you want your friend to be on the lease if he never leaves?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, not that, but you won't be able to remove that person.
Yeah.
You can call the cops and say, hey, they got just as much right for you to be here. It is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, that's why in parks, you know, we're not seeing that right now because all the crazy things going on, but with homeless camping and all this all over the U.S. But a lot of the camps, like I've seen and read about how in some of the Texas state parks and things like that, when people set up their RVs and their camps, if they're not in the designated area, if they like break the rules and kind of go somewhere else, and they set up shop, and then basically they got everything going, everything running, and they start eating food there, and they're there for more than like 3 days, you're absolutely right. It takes the state to come in and like evict them from
Crazy.
the land, you know, and so I can certainly see that. So that's kind of crazy. Yeah, I don't.
Moral of the story is make sure you check around when you go into a open door listing.
Yeah, and look at
Bring a
knock
towel.
real quick.
Look for wet babies. Bring a towel. What a dope. All right. Rent to own startup. I didn't see this one, but rent to own startup, zero down, gets more money. So I'm sure gets more money means gets more funding.
Yeah, so big investment, $100 million in investment, which is a good or interesting concept. So you can, it's almost like the owner financing kind of thing, and to where you can get people in. It just adjustment or like a new way of lending and getting people into homes. I thought it was a pretty good idea. I don't know how it's going to work.
I think it's a great idea.
They're Home Partners of America or something like that.
No, who was that company? No, there's another
I've
company
had
out
problems
there.
with home.
All right.
I had some issues with some rental companies around here.
Yeah, that's a new guy conversation. We're not having that.
Oh,
All right.
We all got problems.
Yeah.
Yes.
We got problems, and we're not talking about rental problems. That's for sure.
oh, don't give me flashbacks.
Right. And so there's a company out there that was doing this where you would go out and you would the agents, it was presented to the agent. So if you have somebody that doesn't qualify, go ahead and take them out and look for a house. Then it had to be qualifying features, just like Open Door does, or Zillow offers, or all these other companies out there, was that you could go out and it had to have, the stipulations were like it had to have good schools, it had to have a good walking score, which the walking score is like, it's got to be, there's got to be certain things around it's located there, shopping, nightlife.
It's got to be in a neighborhood. I think,
just things like that. And so you could go out and do that. Then you make an offer on it, and the company buys it, right? So you talk to the company, they say, hey, this is what it's worth. This is what we'll offer. They buy it. You start, basically your person moves in, they go on title, right? However, this company owns it. They're second lien holder on it. Yeah. And so you can't sell it, obviously, without them. But the whole idea is to refinance it when your credit's better in a year or two, and refinance it and buy it from them. And so they get the equity out of it, right? And then they get to walk away from there. But that's a smart play and that's the thing is, it's got to be in an area where it's going to gain equity in a year or 2 or 3 years, right? So you wouldn't want to do it to where values drop. So they got I'm sure they have a pretty good articulate algorithm that they could plug all the houses, look at to, and see if it's a qualifier or not.
You would hope so. I mean,
you would think
that
that's
money.
what that is right there. So I would love to know more about that, because that just gives the opportunity for more agents to help more people, and that's what this is about. So
seems like that's a goal for a lot of the tech companies that are coming in. They're finding inventive ways to reimagine home ownership in a variety of different ways through creative financing, rent to own, just a lot of different, streamlining or rearranging of systems that have, been the historic norm, and just trying to make it easier.
Right, absolutely. But look at that as a whole, though. That's everything in life right now. I mean, there's you can streamline and order anything to your door. You can get mattresses in a box delivered to you. I mean, that's tech's job. That's a space. Real estate has been a space where tech has never really been welcomed or invited. Right? Yeah. They like the old school, part of this. They. I'm sure there's still realtors out there that would love to have these big MLS books we always hear about, that would love to have those back, and just I'm
a paper kind of guy.
Yeah. when you deal with these, all the people that we call and say, hey, I'm going to send this over. And it's just like, can you fax it to me? It's like, yes. What's your fax? What's your fax number? And so, Yeah, I mean
still blows
that
my mind.
actually still exists,
Yeah.
you know, and mostly in some of the smaller towns where the agents out there, where it wasn't such a you know, like we're in Austin, Texas, right, and so we're in the entrepreneur capital of the United States,
Yeah.
right, and just everybody here's a mover and a shaker, and while they're getting their startups off the ground, or while they're waiting tables, or while they're going to college, or while they're becoming an attorney, you know, whatever else, what does everybody do? Everybody sells real estate, it seems. You know,
Yeah.
you can't go anywhere. You can't throw a rock in a crowd and not hit 2 realtors.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, it's absolutely crazy. My neighbor, I walk into my title company today to drop off a key for a house we just sold, and I look, and there's my neighbor closing on a house. Like,
How'd that make you feel?
didn't. Oh, it pissed me off beyond belief. But he's not my neighbor. He's the new shack up guy, right? So he's the shack up guy. So he's been living with the gal for a while.
Baby
and
daddy of the neighbor.
She got divorced. He got divorced. They're like the Brady Bunch, right? And so he's a cool guy, but I've never really talked to him. And you know, he took his dog into the pool once, and the fucking neighborhood had a meltdown.
How do you think you feel? The lady's brother, I know him and went to high school with him, and I've been trying to work that angle. When we pulled up to the title, I was pissed too.
I completely forgot. You know the brother to the family. Yeah. So, like, you know, I mean, where we live is a pretty huge town, but I mean, obviously, it's still small enough to know a lot of people. And so, so my direct neighbor that knows I sell real estate, that, you know, whatever else, it's her boyfriend. So I don't blame her much.
Yeah.
You know, however, he lives at the house and, you know, says hi to us all the time also. And I know he just sold his house, and I know he sold it with just say a different brokerage. He sold it with a different brokerage with a very older school agent. So I figured it was a family friend. Mm-hmm. However, he's in a different profession that does a lot with real estate agents. He's in insurance, right? So more than likely he's got some clients that he's loyal to. I'm cool with that. It just was kind of funny to see, you know?
Yeah.
But it's a small town. There's a lot of realtors. That was my point. I struggle sometimes to get to the point. I'm just like James Mendez.
That's all right. You get to the point. You just got to give a little more depth and conversation and context.
So a rent-to-own startup would be a pretty cool thing. I think that would help out. And I mean, especially if it was a sense like an iBuyer type deal too, to where they would buy it, then owner finance it for people that had credit right on the brink or lots of student debt. You know, that'd be a good move. You know, I would love to see student debt start coming down after a while. I think that the current president would win the day if he just, you know, somehow could talk the banks into absorbing a majority of that debt for students. That would be pretty freaking awesome.
It would
you
be.
know?
I don't know how many deals that's messed up for me.
Yeah, you just had one.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I see how that crushes you with somebody that you've, you know, worked for about a year. They're ready to go, everything else, and they missed it by one point.
Not my feelings, it's them, you know, like disappointment of not getting a house. That's
right, but I mean,
terrible.
I know how you are, though. You feel that disappointment for your clients. You know? So, I mean, it's
true. I have a lot of empathy.
He's a full service broker. He feels their pain also.
I tell them, you know, I lost 10 pounds on this deal. Didn't sleep a wink.
Yep. So anyway, on to the next one. How to guarantee an offer program works for you. I think that's a whole nother show, but we'll dabble with it real quick.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So I've seen around town, and I know it's nationally, there people are guaranteeing, like, we guarantee you will get offers on every property we list for you. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, man, how are you guaranteeing a list? Are you just, you know, pricing it really well?
I didn't know you were going to go there. These are our secrets. Like, we're not going to...
Don't tell people.
We're not going to tell people this, are we?
Oh.
Okay.
We can tell them a little bit.
All right, let's go.
Yeah. So how are you getting this done? How are you guaranteeing it? And the more you dig into it, it's just the iBuyer or the internet companies.
They're
that
bringing a
guarantee
couple of
offer.
70% offers.
They're just going to slide some offers and be like, hey, look, here's an offer. You can take this. You can leave it. But here's some offers.
Here's a $5 offer.
Yeah.
Don't say I lied.
No, yeah, right. No, but it is that. So, I mean, it's a lot of these bigger brokerages and some smaller brokerages here in town have partnered with, in a sense, Open Door or OfferPad. And I'm sure there's one. I know that Kyle Whistle out in San Diego just partnered with Zillow, and he's real excited that, you know, he gets to help more people now sell their homes and create a direct avenue with a trusted realtor involved with Zillow. Zillow's been doing that program for a while. That launched in Arizona 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, what's his name? Dwayne Lawton? No, some other Lawton guy. Anyway, so that whole crew out there, I know Josh Smith with Get Shit Done. I know they've been involved with Zillow and these guys for a long time. That was all ground zero out there for the iBuyer program in Arizona.
Yeah.
Arizona was one of the worst places underwater back in the the bust of the 7 to 11 years. So
and those offers might be great for some people.
I think they have their place. If people are people willing to give up 10 to 15% of their equity out of what they have,
or more.
Typically it's more. However, like ours came in at 10.5%, then that was just the offer. Under 10.5%, then there was still fees on top of that.
Yeah.
So I posted it on Top Shelf Agent Network, what we actually got. So I cut off my address, obviously, but my house is assessed right now around 360, 359. And if I was to put a price on it, more than likely it would pass assessed value and sell very quickly because of our lot, size of our home, and upgrades and everything else. They offered us 300 on the money, and that's just the initial offer, 300, and then they want more after that. So that's pending inspection, and so they're going to come in and try to rip your place apart. Pretty hard to do with ours. It's only 3 years old.
Well, that was just the offer. That wasn't with the 12% fees.
Right. So now,
plus the repairs.
So let's just go for certain numbers. You take 10% off that. So now you're dropping 30,000. So you're going to net out 330.
Yeah.
No.
What
the hell?
270.
You're making it.
You can tell it's been a long day, man. So 270, right? So you're walking away 270. You're giving up $30,000 worth of your equity. Plus, on top of that, if I was to take that offer, so there's 30 off there, then the 60 over here. And like I said, I more than likely could list for 370. Easy. I'd probably be selling myself short at 370, but to get it sold quick, so I can not be contingent and move on to my next one. Yeah. 70 and 30 is what? Ooh. Yeah. You didn't even have to use all your fingers for that one.
I didn't.
Very good. So, you'd be giving up $100,000. So
who
if that
would
works
wait
for some
extra
people,
30 days for $100,000?
Who wouldn't want to show your property, right? So we say that now. However, there might be other extenuating circumstances, that people just inherited the property. What else? People that maybe have some kind of illness.
Owners.
People just need to get out of town quick.
Get out of debt. Get out of town quick. Not realize. Not understand. There'll be certainly a large number of people that just don't understand what they're signing or what they're doing. They're just the cash is too appealing. You got $150,000 and say you only got to give up 30. You have $150,000 in equity and you only got to give up 30, so you're going to get 120 cash in less than 7 days.
A lot of money for people.
Yeah. That's Tyrone Biggins' biggest crack party ever.
Especially if they got things going on in their life that they need to pay for, medical bills or student loans or something.
Yeah, the student loans or just not to lose out on a house of their dream house that they're going to move to next door, down the street. Yep. Whatever, so we've seen it all the time. So another cool thing we were talking about the other day is that we've been watching the markets a little bit. It seems to be that in some of the bigger markets in like New York and the luxury market, LA doesn't seem to be slowing down, but however, New York and Connecticut and Virginia seems to be that they're slowing down a little bit. So there's a lot of talk around this whole thing that's been pushed around the internet, or not on the internet, but in the space by the media, is that there's a recession on the way, right? How do we feel about a recession? You think a recession's on the way?
Correction. I've been saying this for a while. It's going to be a market correction. More so than
he has been saying it for a while.
More
all month.
More recession.
All month. He just walks in the room. He's like, "Market correction, guys."
No, I definitely think it's going to be that. A lot of the people are saying it's been needed to have the correction to readjust prices and fix inventory and keep us on a long-term path for the better. I think we actually talked about this on another episode, but yeah, I think that's much more likely what's going to happen than actual recession. Definitely not what happened like 2008.
No, I think there's a small correction going around, and there's the money's tied up. A lot of the Asian investors and then European investors have slowed down a little bit, and a lot of them actually these days are selling a lot of these properties that you see. So a lot of the things that they bought big investments of the 10 million, the 20 millions in New York City. They're the guys selling them, but they were also the buying pool. You know, and so that's certainly had an impact on that too. And so that one was just in a conversation with a few guys that actually worked that market. Basically, I was a fly on the wall. They're one of their commissions trumps my year, so it's kind of like, ooh,
that'd be nice. Real
estate, yeah.
Like how many transactions do? One.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to wear those skinny suits with the skinny ties and stuff. I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could get away with my good old fishing shirts and boots in New York City.
Probably not.
All right, well, that's a quick show in and out of the studio today, so we certainly appreciate it. And I wanted to talk about our sponsor real quick.
Who's our sponsor?
Our sponsor is Mike Harrell. Our sponsor. He makes the show happen for us. Obviously, without him, there'd be no Real Estate on the Rocks. So we certainly appreciate it. Mike Harrell over at Guaranteed Rate. If you want to hit up Mike Harrell, just get in touch with us at info@realestateontherocks.com. For those of you that have reached out to me for the free coaching program, it is now full. However, you know the people that I'm speaking to and that you made it in. So we are good to go. We'll see you next time, and we appreciate it.
I'm out.